Hey, this is Brian from Boz Racing, here to try to help some of you guys out that have been struggling with setting up your cars. So we're going to take a look here in the garage and see what we can do. As you enter the garage area, you see the garage up here at the top. You'll see that there's two pages. We'll start here with page 1 at the fuel. You have anywhere between 10 and 28 gallons of fuel that you can run. You'll have to make sure that you know how many laps you're running and set your fuel up accordingly. We look down here now at the main bypass. This is a new adjustment for a lot of you. The main bypass determines how much fuel you allow to bypass the motor and go right back to the fuel cell. The higher the number on the main bypass, the leaner the motor. You can go anywhere from 60 all the way up to 100 here. I typically run somewhere around 78 to 80% on this. Keep in mind that when you go out like for a qualifying session, you can probably run that all the way up to 100% to get the most out of the motor. But make sure you remember to turn it back down for the feature. We go over then to the steering ratio. Steering ratio just determines how quick the steering reacts to what you're doing. I usually set my steering ratio around 33%. I kind of keep that working in conjunction with the speed sensitivity and everything, which we'll talk about here in a minute. We move down to the tires. The tires have anywhere from 10 to 14 inches of stagger. Most of the guys are running somewhere around 10 or 11 inches of stagger. The less stagger you run, the tighter the car. Move over to the brakes. The brakes come in defaulted at 30 and 70. If you feel like that makes the car too loose and tries to spin you out when you hit the brakes, try turning that down to 15 and 85 or 20 and 80. And you can also play with the brake pressure there, help get things set up so it's more comfortable for you. Move down then to the gear ratio. The gear ratio for the bigger tracks, somewhere around 470 to 5 on the gear ratio. Maybe the smaller tracks, Silver Dollar and tracks like that, maybe run up into 540s. Driver preference, however hard you want to turn the motor. Wing angle, anywhere from 20 to 30 on the wing angle. Some of the slicker tracks you have to move the wing up to tighten the car. Just remember, the more you move the wing up in the air, the more straightaway speed you lose. Speed sensitivity comes in defaulted at 60. This is one of the adjustments that we recommend turning down to 0. A lot of guys complain that they turn the car all the way to the right and can't get the car to go straight. Most likely it's because your speed sensitivity needs turned down. And if you have to adjust the other settings so that you can run that at 0, then that's what you need to do. Left rear jacking, if you put a turn in the left rear, that's like tightening the car. If you have the left rear jacking and a negative number, that's like turning in the right rear. We move to page 2. You can see symmetrical should always be at no. Toe in either 0 or negative 0.1. Then we have the 4 adjustments on every corner for the torsion bar, anywhere from a 975 to a 10 1/4 bar. The charts are listed here in the middle. The left side and the right side are different, so to keep the same rate you'll have to run different numbers. You have to just check that out there on the chart. As far as the air pressure goes, left rear is 4.5 to 6 pounds. The more air in the left rear, the tighter the car. That's opposite of real life, but that's how the game works, unfortunately. The right rear goes from 6.5 to 10 pounds. The higher the number, the looser the car on the right rear. As far as shocks go, standard shock is a 5.5 shock. If you're looking to tighten the car up, looking for drive, and you want to try putting easy ups on the front, you could try 5.3s. That'll help transfer the weight to the rear of the car, probably give you a little more drive. You could also soften the right rear shock, maybe run a 4.4, or even maybe tie down the right rear with a 4.5 or a 4.6. Should give you some drive. As far as the bump stop goes on the left rear, on a slick track I usually run a 2 or 2.5 inch bump stop, especially if I have a full fuel load. That'll keep the car from bottoming out so hard on the left rear at the beginning of a race. The only problem with running a big bump stop is at the end of the race your car will get extremely tight. You may feel a lot better just running a smaller bump stop and letting your car come to you at the end of the race Typically for a heat race, just run like maybe a 1 inch or 1.5 inch bump stop. That's all I got for you. Hopefully that helps some of the guys that have been struggling to get their cars where they want them. Check us out at bozracing.com.